Yo guys, what's up? Welcome back to another video. First shot I've had since really the end of 41. I'm probably going to be taking breaks in between off-season survivors as it's just easy for me. Basically, this is first take. This is kind of like first take, with Stephen A. Smith after football games, stuff like that. But this is for Survivor 42. I think I'm going to be doing this every single season. After the first episode airs, I'll be giving my first take, what I thought, what I liked, what I disliked, which I'll probably be, putting up together and comparing it to the premiere of the season prior. So this is a very impromptu video. I literally just got done doing a podcast with my buddy Survivor Spencer and the Bitter Juror. So still very fresh in my mind. Again, could be very biased, could be very recency biased. I'm not sure. Anyway, let's get into it. Overall, I think I liked this premiere better than 41's. And that could simply come down to the fact that, as you guys know, Jackson did unfortunately have to get medically evacuated from the game. The stuff surrounding it a bit weird that he lied to production. Either way, he got medically evacuated, which meant there was only one more vote out, which means we got a lot more time with the tribe that had tribal council, which was Ika. We had more time to kind of digest what was going on, and just had more. We probably had more time camp lifetime in the entire episode, but because of that little 5-7 minute section where Jackson had to get voted out, while still at the same time having the same amount of people being off the island. There were still 16 people off the island, just like there was in 41. Overall, just from the very first impression of it, I think this cast is probably overall better than 41's. I think 41 had a lot of game bods. Well, I think this cast, there's people like Jonathan who are literally I'm just here to serve you. I just want to eat. I just want to make food, stuff like that. I like that. I know exactly what I'm going to get out of Jonathan, and I like people like that. People like Marianne, you're like, this person's crazy, we don't know what we're going to get out of them. I like people like Jonathan that they casted where you're very clearly know they're going to do this, and that's probably what they're going to bring to the season, which I like that, which is why Jonathan is one of my favorite players actually from this. He's a very, you know what's going to happen type of guy. I think there's more people like that. People like Mike Turner, you definitely know what you're going to get out of him. People like Jonathan. And those people I usually root for, people I know who I'm going to get out of. I like Mike Turner a lot. I like Jonathan Young a lot. I also like the scene that did, obviously, bad situation. I like the very opening part where Daniel, dislocated the shoulder throughout the entire rest of the challenge. You see him kind of limp. And, the producers come in, they snap it right back, and he's good. He's fine. I think that was a really cool part of the episode. Another thing I liked about this first episode is that, yes, there was sob stories. We still have a lot of those in, Survivor nowadays, which I don't particularly like. But there was way less sob stories. And these sob stories, some of these sob stories actually, made sense. Daniel's, that made sense. He had leukemia, very obviously bad situation. He got over it. He deserves to at least say something like that. Last season's, it just seems like there were sob stories just to kind of have sob stories. With these ones, there was less, and some of them made more sense. Rock Story tried to seem like they tried to have a sob story, which really didn't make sense, but that was really the only one that was kind of like that. So I like that. I think we got to know the cast a little better, and even though there's people like, Chanel that only got one confessional, we still got to know the entire cast pretty well. And overall, the twist in the amulet, I like that. I think we're still going to have the Beware advantage, but overall, I like that the Beware advantage was in the premiere, and I think that, I know we're going to have the Beware advantage in this season, but hopefully it's not, they talk about it too much. I feel like the amulet, it definitely seems cooler. I like the amulet more as a twist, actually. I think it's a better twist overall. I feel like the amulet, it doesn't take away your vote. And I like that. My biggest complaint with the Beware advantage was that it took away your vote. And I feel like I'm okay with votes being taken away for one round. Like steal vote, that's a one round thing. I'm fine with that. I feel like the Beware advantage, I would have been way more fine with it if it was just, okay, your first tribal council, you don't have a vote. Okay, that's cool. But the Beware advantage you had until, I assume the merge, your vote would be gone, and that really sucked. With the amulet, it builds up. It builds up where the Beware advantage just kind of stays the same. The amulet builds up. You don't use it, okay, you could be voted out with it, but if you don't use it, it could eventually become an idol, or it's a steal a vote or an extra vote. I'm pretty sure, I don't remember exactly, I'm pretty sure in its original form, it's a steal a vote, I feel like, I'm gonna have to look it up real quick, but I'll be right back. I'm gonna look it up just to make sure. Okay, so I kind of got it wrong. When there's 3 remaining people in the game, when all 3 people still have an amulet, you have an extra vote. And then if one person gets voted out that has the amulet, there's 2 left, which means the power of 2 can have steal a vote. And then if there's only one person in the game that has an amulet left, it becomes a full-fledged enemy idol, and the last time you can play is Final 6, which I actually like better than Final 5, because I just want to make sure Advantage Gaiden does not happen whatsoever, and that's definitely making it not happen at the Final 5, which I like. And I hope idols will remain until Final 5, so that can't happen. I just want that to not happen at all. I really do not want, Advantage Gaiden to happen. So overall, I like the amulet better than the Beware Advantage. I do think we are going to get the Beware Advantage, but it is what it is. Now let's go back to the opening. I like the opening challenge. I thought it was fun. I like, how they had to decide if they wanted the advantage or not, which ended up being the amulet. And I think like the challenge was pretty good. I feel like Ika kind of got a fluke win, honestly, in that challenge, but it is what it is. We could get good camp life, stuff like that. Overall, I liked the camp life. I thought it was good. So, we move on to the episode, obviously. Jackson, I think, is the first person to ever go home before the first immunity challenge. Get medically evacuated, that is, before the first immunity challenge. So at least there's some interesting in that. I do think that Taku is still going to do good without him, personally. I feel like Taku, even though I feel like the tribes are definitely more balanced this season, I do feel like Taku still has the chance to pull away and just not lose a single one, as we saw with Luvu, because I feel like Jonathan Young is just, I truly believe that Jonathan Young is just that good. I think Jonathan Young is just that good. And when you also have someone like Lindsay on your tribe, who's definitely the most, probably, maybe besides Drea, the most physically fit woman there, that's also going to boost your chances. As we saw, they still ended up winning the first immunity challenge, first place. Even with that, they eventually almost blew their lead, just because they also have good puzzle makers and Omar. I just feel like that tribe is the most, well-rounded. Now, I feel like much like Luvu, I feel like they could also try to throw a challenge, and I feel like they might actually be able to throw a challenge, honestly. Unlike Luvu, because Luvu had a lot of people besides, Danny and Deshawn, but that's besides the point. Anyway, let's get to something else. When they get to the island, they actually... Let's get to something else. When they got to the island, they actually changed up something a little bit. So, in the 41, if you weren't aware, they did the Savvy or Sweat. And the Sweat challenge was 2 people, go water, go back and forth. And then eventually, you'll get your stuff, your machete, stuff like that, if you're able to do it in 4 hours. Okay, cool. They all chose Sweat. Savvy remained the same both seasons. However, in this season, they made it to where it's only one person that does the Sweat challenge. So one person has to go back and forth. And that changed it up a lot, because both tribes ended up choosing the Savvy, which I actually liked, because I wanted to see it. Both tribes actually ended up getting it right. You get 2 guesses. One tribe ended up doing 50 and 51. The other tribe did 51 and 52. The answer was 51. So both tribes actually got it. And I like that, honestly. I like that both tribes got it. And I like that we actually got to see the Savvy challenge and how it works. We got a good confessional from Jenny Kim, how she relates us to her job, and she did very well in that. And then Omar and Marianne kind of teamed up there and on Taku, and were able to do it for them. Both tribes got their stuff. Cool. Now we get to the immunity challenge, where Taku almost comedically throws their immunity challenge away, which is kind of funny. Jonathan beast moded through the entire challenge. He basically carried the tribe on his back, but for some reason they got stuck when they had there's a part of this challenge where you had to like push your boat into like this weird rope. I think one of the rope might have gotten stuck on something, but they almost comedically threw away the challenge. But they got to the puzzle, and they were able to get first place, and Bati got second place, and Ika the tribal council. Now, from previous, what we got to see from Ika, it looked like Roxroy was the obvious vote. Roxroy really ended up kind of looking like an Abraham figure from last season, where he just bosses around the tribe too much, and the whole tribe just doesn't really end up gelling with him, and they end up voting him out. That looked like the trajectory that Roxroy is taking. However, when we get back, we learned that Roxroy actually has a pretty good connection with Swati, which Abraham didn't really have any good connections last season. And it kind of shifted who the vote was going towards, because at first, Drea and and Tori team up, and they're like, let's vote Roxroy. Let's vote Rox out. Cool. However, Rox has has Swati, and I feel like Swati is obviously more the mind behind it. But because Romeo also ends up, being cool with Rox, and because in one of the very first scenes we get there, Romeo, Rox, and Drea are all kind of in this mini alliance. Romeo kind of gets weirded out that Drea already wants to flip on Rox. It's very interesting, and Romeo ends up saying, let's vote out Tori, which Drea initially is cool with. She thinks voting out Tori, while she personally doesn't want that to happen, that ends up seeing what's going to happen. That seems like it's going to happen because Romeo seems like he's maybe being in control of things, what have you. But Rox and Swati are both very, very, imminent that they want Zach out, and they're not going to flip. So, and then because we see that Roxroy and Swati never really actually ever bring up any idea of saying, well, maybe let's not vote out Zach. It's pretty obvious that Zach does go home. However, we do get kind of some intrigue with Zach, and obviously the Shot in the Dark twist, which is back. He uses it actually. It's the very first vote of the season isn't a vote. He uses it, and it's still most likely the Shot in the Dark advantage, in my opinion. I feel like if they do end it, even if they don't end it after 42, will most likely never work, just because it's a 1 in 6 every single time. It is just very hard to get it, especially because you're not doing it over and over and over again. I feel like at most a Shot in the Dark may be used twice or 3 times per season. I feel like it's not going to be used that. And I feel like the most effective it would be is in the pre-swap. Because there is a lot of just majority of votes in the pre-swap that are unanimous, and it was unanimous. Zach actually was right in using the Shot in the Dark, as he gets unanimously voted out by everyone else. Everyone else decides that's what out Zach. He probably isn't contributing as much to the tribe. And, we kind of get left with this feeling that Tori's probably going to be the one that goes home next. But there is still some intrigue, as we don't really know where Romeo lies now, and Rox could still potentially be like a very commanding figure still, so he could get himself in trouble. I do feel like, especially because if 41 is anything to tell, they don't swap. I feel like they might swap in 42 just because Jeff said we are switching things up. They might swap. I feel like if I had to put my money on it, though, I don't think they're going to swap. I do think we're going to see Ika back a lot. They could be like Ua, where they, they end up losing every single challenge. I think after the third vote, Ua ends up losing every single challenge. They could be like that. They just don't have anyone like a Jonathan on the tribe that can carry them, or like a Mike Turner. Even though Vati definitely isn't as physically fit as, a tribe like Taku is, I feel like it still is kind of Ika, especially with someone gone. It always hurts to have someone gone. Although I do feel like we probably would have gotten a double elimination here if Jackson didn't go home, which it would have been Vati and Ika that goes to Tribal Council, which I feel like that would have, the Vati probably would have been a more interesting one, as I feel like Zach probably was always the one that was going to go home. After re-watching the end of it a bit, it kind of looked like Zach really probably was always going to get voted out there. There was nothing he could probably do about it. This tribe just seemed overall to be more old school, where they just want to vote out a weaker person, and that ended up happening, especially when Drea seems like a very, not like old school, but kind of leaning towards old school type person. She wants people that are physically fit in the tribe, as she obviously respects that. She's a trainer, I believe. I feel like this season, just by watching the premiere, I don't know, I just feel like we're probably going to end up liking this season more. I feel like 41, it just didn't really feel like a season of Survivor to me. With the whole 26 days and the race wars and just everything like that, it felt very distant from Survivor. As for this premiere, this felt like Survivor to me. I like this premiere. And if every single episode is replica like this, and they don't get into the whole politics and stuff like that, like last season, I feel like this season can be a pretty good season. Obviously, it sucks. There's no 39 days. It's 26 days. But that's really the main thing there. Obviously, I'm not a fan of the Beware advantage. I wish they just got rid of it and just kept the amulet. And also, I almost forgot to mention, they're still doing the whole island twist where they go to an island and risk their vote. However, I think they did it better here, as they, as it was only like 5 minutes. Like last time it was like a whole 12 minutes, something like that. This time it was only like like really like 5 minutes. It really didn't take up that much screen time, and Drea and Marianne both got extra votes. It seems like Marianne is probably going to be a pretty big character. I feel like Drea is probably also going to be a pretty big character. None from really Taku really standed out, but that kind of makes sense as it just really wasn't their time to shine. I feel like with especially Jackson, getting medically evacuated in this episode, most of the focus was going to be on him, and there was a good amount of focus on him this episode. I feel like we're going to get to see more characters like Jonathan probably stand out in later episodes now that Jackson's gone, because they obviously need to put a lot of screen time on him because he did go home this episode. Anyway, that's my first take on Survivor 42. Overall, if I have to give a 1 out of 10 on the premiere, I'm going to give it a strong 7 out of 10 to 8 out of 10. I actually really like this. In fact, I like most Survivor premieres. I like the 41 premiere. So I don't really remember a season that I didn't like the premiere of. Usually premieres are pretty strong, and usually I don't hold the vote outs much to premieres, since usually first vote outs can be pretty obvious and stuff like that. So I don't really hold the first vote outs to, and I'm going to count Zach as the first vote out, obviously not the second vote out like Jeff likes to say. Overall, I think the premiere was good. Now that the 41 premiere is good, let's see if it can be better. I feel like 42 is going to be a better version of 41. And that's really all you can ask for, is that a season is better. And like I said, I'm going to compare the two. And I think this is a better premiere than 41 was. While we did get 2 vote outs, we just got more camp life and stuff like that in this 42 premiere. And hopefully just 42 overall is just a better version of 41. That's all you can ask for, is that a season is better than the last season. Unless it's Thailand, then it really is not hard to get better than it, right? Anyway, guys, hope you guys have enjoyed this video. Thank you guys for watching.